If you think vaping only damages your lungs, think again. It's secretly aging your skin faster than you can imagine. Vaping ages your skin fast, and the effects go far deeper than most people realize. The skin is the largest organ of the body and a direct reflection of what's happening inside. Every puff of a vape introduces a cocktail of chemicals and toxins that disrupt the delicate balance your skin relies on to stay youthful, elastic, and glowing. It's easy to believe that vaping is somehow cleaner or less harmful than smoking cigarettes. But the truth is that both habits share one devastating similarity. They rob your skin of its natural vitality by starving it of oxygen, nutrients, and blood flow. When you inhale vaporized nicotine and other substances, the blood vessels in your skin constrict. This vasoconstriction means less circulation, and with reduced circulation comes a lack of essential oxygen and micronutrients that the skin cells need to repair and regenerate. Imagine constantly cutting off your skin's oxygen supply. It can't heal, it can't renew, and it can't protect itself. Over time, the result is skin that looks dull, tired, and prematurely aged. Those fine lines and wrinkles that should show up decades later begin to appear earlier, and the healthy, radiant glow starts to fade. Nicotine is the main culprit behind this process. It triggers the release of stress hormones like adrenaline, which narrow the blood vessels and increase inflammation throughout the body. Chronic inflammation accelerates the breakdown of collagen and elastin, the two vital proteins responsible for keeping skin firm and elastic. Once these fibers are damaged, the skin begins to sag, lose its bounce, and develop a leathery texture. Even if you use expensive serums or anti-aging creams, they can't compensate for the continuous internal damage caused by nicotine and the oxidative stress from vaping. Oxidative stress is another silent destroyer. When you vape, you introduce free radicals, unstable molecules that attack healthy skin cells, DNA, and structural proteins. These free radicals trigger a cascade of damage that erodes collagen faster than your body can rebuild it. The skin's natural antioxidant defense system can only handle so much before it's overwhelmed. The result is a visible acceleration of aging, uneven texture, pigmentation, and a loss of firmness that no skincare product can fully reverse. This is why people who vape often notice that their skin starts to look older long before its time, beyond the internal chemistry. The physical act of vaping adds to the problem. The heat and chemicals from the vapor can irritate the outermost layer of your skin, compromising its barrier function. A healthy skin barrier locks in moisture and keeps irritants out. But when that barrier is weakened, the skin becomes prone to dryness, redness, and sensitivity. Over time, this damage accumulates, creating chronic irritation that makes the skin appear thinner and less resilient. The mouth area is especially vulnerable. The repeated pursing of lips while inhaling from a vape can lead to deep lines around the mouth, similar to smokers' lines, aging the face prematurely. Many people think that using skincare products like vitamin C or retinol can offset the effects of vaping, but that's a dangerous misconception. While antioxidants can help neutralize some free radicals, they can't undo the continuous cycle of damage caused by nicotine and other vaping chemicals. You're essentially trying to put out a fire while continuing to pour gasoline on it. True skin repair requires stopping the source of damage entirely. Another lesser-known aspect of vaping is dehydration. The ingredients in vape liquids, such as propylene glycol and vegetable glycerin, have a drying effect on the skin. They pull moisture away from the surface, leaving the skin feeling tight, flaky, and dull. Chronic dehydration not only accentuates fine lines, but also weakens the skin's ability to heal from daily environmental stress. The more dehydrated your skin becomes, the older and more fatigued it looks. In addition, vaping reduces the delivery of vital nutrients such as vitamin A and vitamin C to the skin. Both of these are crucial for cell renewal and collagen synthesis. Without them, the skin's natural turnover process slows down, causing dead cells to accumulate on the surface and giving the skin a rough, uneven texture. The lack of oxygen and nutrients also makes heal more slowly, so even minor blemishes or irritations take longer to disappear. All these effects add up, often subtly at first. Maybe it's a loss of glow, then a little more dryness, and before long, the fine lines deepen and the skin loses its youthful bounce. It's a slow transformation that can make someone look years older than they are. And because vaping feels less harsh than smoking, people often continue for longer, unaware of the damage happening beneath the surface. Quitting vaping doesn't just protect your lungs or heart, it gives your skin a chance to recover. The body has an incredible ability to heal once the toxic exposure stops. Over time, blood flow improves, oxygen returns to the skin, and collagen production begins to restore itself. But every extra day of vaping continues the aging process, pushing your skin further away from the healthy, youthful look it's meant to have. The real secret to glowing, age-resistant skin isn't just in skincare routines or fancy products. It starts with what you choose not to inhale. Vaping harms total body health in ways that go far beyond what most people can see or feel in the moment. It is often marketed as a safer alternative to smoking, but the reality is that it affects nearly every organ system in the body. Each inhalation delivers a concentrated mix of chemicals, heavy metals, and ultrafine particles directly into the lungs and bloodstream. These substances don't just stay in the lungs, they circulate throughout the body, impacting the heart, brain, immune system, and even the skin. The vapor might look clean, but what it carries are compounds that can cause inflammation, oxidative stress, and long-term cellular damage. Over time, these changes create a foundation for chronic disease and premature aging of the entire body. When the vapor enters the lungs, it triggers irritation and inflammation almost immediately. The fine particles in e-cigarette aerosols can penetrate deep into the airways, causing the delicate tissues to swell and become more prone to infection. Many users experience a persistent cough, chest tightness, or shortness of breath, symptoms that mimic those of early lung disease. Studies have shown that vaping can damage the tiny air sacs in the lungs, making it harder for oxygen to transfer into the blood. This decreased oxygen flow affects every cell in the body, leading to fatigue, slower healing, and impaired performance in daily activities. Over time, the constant exposure can lead to chronic respiratory issues that resemble those caused by traditional smoking. The impact on the cardiovascular system is equally concerning. Nicotine, one of the main components in most vaping liquids, is a powerful stimulant that raises blood pressure, increases heart rate, and narrows blood vessels. This puts the heart under constant strain, forcing it to work harder than it should. The result is an increased risk of heart attack, stroke, and other circulatory problems. Even short-term use can make the blood more likely to clot, reducing the smooth flow that the heart and brain rely on. The combination of inflammation and oxidative stress further damages the lining of blood vessels, a process that can contribute to atherosclerosis, hardening and narrowing of the arteries. These effects accumulate silently, often going unnoticed until a serious health event occurs. The brain is also deeply affected by vaping. Nicotine interferes with the development of neural pathways, particularly in young people whose brains are still maturing. It alters the release of neurotransmitters like dopamine, which control mood, focus, and motivation. Over time, this rewiring creates dependency, making it harder to quit. The constant stimulation and withdrawal cycle can increase anxiety, irritability, and attention problems. Young users in particular are more vulnerable to long-term changes in memory, concentration, and impulse control. The illusion of vaping as harmless or trendy hides the fact that it is shaping the way the brain functions, possibly for life. Vaping also weakens the immune system. The chemicals in e-liquids, including formaldehyde, ecrolane, and various flavoring agents, can suppress the body's natural defense mechanisms. When the immune system is compromised, the body becomes more susceptible to infections, allergies, and inflammatory conditions. The respiratory tract, which acts as the first line of defense against airborne pathogens, becomes less effective at filtering out bacteria and viruses. This explains why some users report frequent colds or prolonged recovery times from minor illnesses. The damage extends beyond the lungs, influencing how the entire body responds to environmental stress and disease. Another serious consequence of vaping is its effect on metabolism and hormones. Nicotine disrupts insulin sensitivity, which can increase the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. It also interferes with the body's ability to regulate hunger and energy levels, sometimes causing fluctuations in weight and appetite. The stress that vaping places on the adrenal glands elevates cortisol, the body's main stress hormone, leading to fatigue, anxiety, and sleep disturbances. Over time, these imbalances can take a toll on mental and physical well-being, leaving the body in a constant state of strain. The toxins and chemicals from vaping also reach the liver and kidneys, the body's main detoxifying organs. These organs work tirelessly to filter out harmful substances, but the repeated exposure to vape chemicals increases their workload. This can contribute to inflammation and reduced efficiency over time. Additionally, traces of heavy metals such as nickel, lead, and tin from the heating coils can accumulate in the bloodstream, posing risks for long-term toxicity. These metals are not meant to be inhaled, and their presence in the body can disrupt normal cellular processes, damaging DNA and contributing to various chronic diseases. Vaping's effects are not limited to the internal organs. It impacts bone density, reproductive health, and even oral health. The reduction in blood flow caused by nicotine affects the delivery of nutrients to bones, potentially slowing bone regeneration and increasing the risk of fractures. In men, vaping may lower testosterone levels, while in women it can disrupt hormone balance and fertility. Oral health suffers as well. Vaping dries out the mouth and alters the natural bacterial balance, leading to gum inflammation, bad breath, and tooth decay. These are not isolated issues. They are connected manifestations of how vaping deteriorates total body health. The damage builds gradually, and because vaping doesn't carry the strong odor or immediate harshness of smoking, it can lull users into a false sense of safety. Yet, each puff is delivering compounds that are reshaping internal systems in subtle but destructive ways. The body is remarkably resilient, but it has limits. Every exposure chips away at its ability to repair, defend, and function optimally. The cumulative effect is a faster decline in health that might not be visible immediately, but becomes undeniable over time. The path to real wellness starts with understanding that there is no such thing as harmless inhalation of chemicals. Protecting your body means giving it the chance to breathe, recover, and thrive without the burden of toxins it was never designed to handle. Toxic chemicals in vaping liquids are one of the biggest culprits behind skin irritation, and the damage often begins long before it becomes visible. Each puff of vapor introduces a blend of artificial flavorings, solvents, and metals directly into the body, all of which have the potential to harm the skin in both direct and indirect ways. What many people don't realize is that the vapor doesn't just affect the lungs. It touches the skin, lingers on the face, and enters the bloodstream. The skin, being a sensitive organ, reacts quickly to these irritants, and over time, the results can be dryness, redness, itching, breakouts, and even chronic inflammatory skin conditions. What feels like a harmless habit is actually a steady assault on the skin's natural defenses. One of the primary reasons vaping causes irritation is the combination of propylene glycol and vegetable glycerin, two of the main ingredients in e-liquids. These compounds are used to create the smooth vapor effect that mimics smoke. While generally considered safe for ingestion, they behave differently when inhaled and exposed to the skin. Propylene glycol, in particular, is a known irritant that can dry out the skin by pulling moisture away from its surface. People who vape regularly may notice that their lips, cheeks, or hands become unusually dry or flaky. Over time, this dehydration weakens the outer layer of the skin, known as the barrier, making it more susceptible to further irritation from environmental stressors and pollutants. Once that barrier is compromised, even mild skincare products or weather changes can trigger burning or stinging sensations. Another hidden danger comes from the metallic components in vaping devices themselves. Many devices contain heating coils made of nickel, chromium, or other metals that can leach into the vapor. When these trace metals settle on the skin or enter the bloodstream through inhalation, they can trigger allergic reactions. Nickel allergy is one of the most common forms of contact dermatitis, a red, itchy, inflamed rash that often appears around the mouth, chin, and hands. Some people develop chronic irritation that never fully heals as long as they continue to use their vape. The constant exposure to these allergens leads to a cycle of inflammation and sensitivity that worsens with time. Flavoring agents are another major source of skin irritation. The sweet, fruity, or minty tastes that make vaping appealing are created using chemicals designed for food use, not for inhalation or skin contact. When heated and turned into vapor, these substances change structure and can become more reactive. Compounds such as cinnamaldehyde used in cinnamon flavors and vanillin used in vanilla flavors have been shown to irritate tissues and trigger allergic responses. People often underestimate how much of the vapor actually touches the skin during exhalation or lingers in the air. This constant contact can lead to puerperal dermatitis, a rash that forms around the mouth and nose, resembling acne but often painful and difficult to treat. The skin irritation caused by vaping isn't limited to external contact. Internal exposure through inhalation also plays a significant role. Once these chemicals enter the bloodstream, they can trigger inflammatory responses that show up as skin flare-ups. Conditions like eczema, psoriasis, or rosacea can worsen because the immune system reacts to the toxins circulating in the body. The inflammation that begins in the lungs or bloodstream often finds its way to the skin, manifesting as redness, itchiness, or sudden outbreaks. In this way, vaping becomes an internal source of skin inflammation, constantly stimulating the immune system and preventing the skin from maintaining a calm, balanced state. Additionally, the heat generated by vaping devices contributes to irritation. The warm vapor that passes close to the mouth and face repeatedly exposes the skin to heat stress. Over time, this can enlarge pores, increase redness, and even lead to broken capillaries on the cheeks or nose. For people who already have sensitive or reactive skin, This constant temperature fluctuation is especially harmful. It aggravates inflammation and creates a cycle of sensitivity that makes the skin appear flushed and uneven. The more frequently someone vapes, the less time the skin has to recover between exposures. Another factor that worsens irritation is the dehydration effect caused by both the vapor and nicotine. Nicotine reduces blood flow to the skin, depriving it of oxygen and essential nutrients, while propylene glycol draws moisture out. Together, these effects leave the skin dry, brittle, and vulnerable to environmental damage. Dry skin is not only uncomfortable, but also more prone to cracking and infection. Small irritations can quickly escalate into more serious conditions, especially when the skin's protective barrier is no longer functioning properly. Even the residue from vaping can irritate the skin. The vapor particles settle on clothing, bedding, and surfaces, creating an invisible layer of chemicals that the skin continues to come into contact with long after vaping has stopped. This prolonged exposure can lead to chronic irritation, especially in areas where the skin is thinner or more sensitive, such as the neck, chest, and around the eyes. The continuous contact with vapor residue also interferes with the effectiveness of skincare products, making it harder for moisturizers and treatments to work properly. What makes this type of irritation particularly insidious is that it can develop gradually. A person may start with mild dryness or occasional redness and not realize it's related to vaping. Over time, the skin's tolerance decreases and reactions become more frequent and more severe. Once sensitization occurs, even a small amount of exposure can trigger itching, swelling, or rash. The cycle is self-perpetuating. Irritation weakens the skin barrier, which makes it more reactive, which then leads to even more irritation. The only way to truly break this cycle is to eliminate the source of the toxins. Skincare alone cannot neutralize the effects of the chemicals and metals inhaled and exhaled through vaping. As long as these substances continue to enter the body, the inflammation and irritation will persist. The skin can begin to heal and regain its resilience once it's no longer being bombarded by these irritants. The difference becomes noticeable over time. The redness fades, the dryness improves, and the skin gradually restores its healthy balance. Protecting the skin starts with understanding that what goes into the body inevitably shows up on its surface, and no vapor or chemical cocktail can ever replace the natural clarity and calm of skin that is free from constant exposure to toxins. Inflammation and oxidative stress are two of the most damaging effects that vaping has on the human body, especially on the skin. These processes don't just happen on the surface, they begin deep inside the body at the cellular level. Every puff of vapor releases a surge of reactive chemicals that trigger inflammation, disrupt normal cell function, and generate unstable molecules known as free radicals. Over time, these reactions combine to create a state of chronic stress within the body, and this internal chaos slowly shows up externally as premature aging, loss of skin elasticity, dullness, and persistent irritation. While these effects might not appear immediately, they accumulate silently, causing lasting harm to both appearance and overall health. Inflammation is the body's natural defense mechanism. It's how the immune system responds to injury or infection, sending out signals to repair damage. But when this process becomes constant, it turns from protective to destructive. Vaping exposes the body to thousands of tiny particles and chemicals that are recognized as threats. The immune system reacts by releasing inflammatory molecules called cytokines to neutralize them. When this reaction happens repeatedly day after day, the body remains in a low-grade state of inflammation. This ongoing immune activity starts to damage healthy tissues, including the delicate cells that make up the skin structure. The result is redness, irritation, and a breakdown of the components that keep skin firm and youthful. One of the most significant contributors to inflammation from vaping is nicotine. It may give an initial rush of stimulation, but it also causes blood vessels to constrict and reduces oxygen delivery to tissues. Poor circulation means the skin receives fewer nutrients, while the buildup of toxins increases the inflammatory response. The body interprets this as continuous stress, leading to the overproduction of inflammatory chemicals like interleukin-6 and interleukin-8. These molecules are known to worsen chronic skin conditions such as acne, rosacea, and eczema. When inflammation becomes persistent, it doesn't just make the skin look irritated, it accelerates the degradation of collagen and elastin, the very proteins that give skin its structure and resilience. Alongside inflammation, oxidative stress plays a parallel and equally destructive role. When vaping, the body is exposed to reactive oxygen species, or free radicals that form as byproducts of the vaporization process. These free radicals are unstable molecules that seek to stabilize themselves by stealing electrons from healthy cells. In doing so, they damage cell membranes, proteins, and even DNA. Normally, the body's natural antioxidant defenses, like vitamins C and E, neutralize some of these free radicals, keeping them in check. But vaping overwhelms these defenses, flooding the system with more free radicals than it can handle. The imbalance between free radicals and antioxidants is what defines oxidative stress, and it creates a domino effect of cellular damage. This constant oxidative stress is devastating for the skin. Collagen fibers, which are responsible for keeping the skin smooth and firm, become fragmented and weakened under free radical attack. Elastin, which allows the skin to stretch and bounce back, loses its integrity. Over time, this leads to sagging, fine lines, and wrinkles. The skin's natural repair process slows down because the cells responsible for regeneration are being damaged faster than they can recover. The once bright, healthy complexion becomes dull and uneven, and even minor wounds or blemishes take longer to heal. The impact of oxidative stress is not limited to the visible layers of the skin. Inside the body, it affects mitochondria, the energy-producing centers of cells. When mitochondria are damaged, cells can't produce enough energy to function efficiently. This leads to fatigue on a cellular level, meaning that tissues like the skin, which are constantly renewing, begin to age prematurely. Oxidative stress also weakens the immune system's ability to respond to infections and repair damage, creating a vicious cycle where inflammation and oxidative damage feed off each other. The more the body tries to repair, the more free radicals are produced and the more inflammation occurs. Heat and chemicals from the vapor itself further aggravate this process. When the vapor touches the skin or is inhaled into the bloodstream, it increases local temperature and irritation, stimulating even more inflammatory responses. The body attempts to cool and protect itself, but repeated exposure only deepens the damage. The surface of the skin becomes sensitive and reactive, and deeper layers lose their ability to retain moisture. Dryness, flackiness, and redness become common symptoms of this ongoing stress. The cumulative effects of inflammation and oxidative stress don't stop at aging. They also compromise the skin's protective barrier. This barrier acts as a shield against environmental pollutants, bacteria, and irritants. When it becomes weakened, external toxins penetrate more easily, triggering further inflammation. The skin starts to react to things it once tolerated, like sunlight, skincare products, or even changes in temperature. This heightened sensitivity is one of the first signs that oxidative damage is taking its toll. Once this barrier is compromised, it can take a long time for the skin to fully recover. Over time, Chronic inflammation and oxidative stress can also affect pigmentation. Free radicals interfere with melanin production, leading to uneven skin tone, dark spots, and hyperpigmentation. These changes are difficult to reverse and often persist even after other symptoms improve. On a deeper level, these processes increase the risk of more serious conditions because oxidative stress can cause mutations in cellular DNA. Setting the stage for long-term health consequences, the skin's appearance becomes a reflection of the body's internal state. When inflammation and oxidative stress are constantly active, the outward signs, fine lines, redness, breakouts, and dullness are simply visible warnings of what's happening inside. Reducing exposure to the triggers that cause these processes is the only real way to allow the body to heal. Once the source of oxidative and inflammatory damage is removed, cells begin to regenerate more efficiently. Collagen production improves and circulation restores the oxygen and nutrients that the skin desperately needs. What emerges over time is not just healthier skin, but a body that functions in balance again, free from the constant internal battle against toxins and instability. Quitting is the best skincare because no product, treatment, or beauty routine can reverse the damage caused by harmful habits if the source of that damage continues. The skin reflects everything that happens inside the body, and when it is constantly exposed to toxins from vaping or smoking, it struggles to repair itself. Many people invest in expensive serums, masks, and devices hoping to restore their glow, but these efforts are only temporary if the underlying cause of skin stress remains active. The moment a person decides to quit, real healing begins. It's the single most transformative act for both health and appearance because the body has an incredible ability to recover once the exposure to harmful substances stops. When someone quits, the body immediately starts to repair itself. Within hours, circulation begins to improve as blood vessels relax and oxygen flow increases. This boost in oxygen delivers more nutrients to the skin, helping it regain its natural color and vitality. The dull, grayish tone that often develops from poor blood flow begins to fade, replaced by a healthier, brighter complexion. The skin starts to breathe again. Fine lines soften because the cells responsible for collagen production are no longer being suffocated by toxins. It's a gradual transformation that doesn't require expensive products, just time, patience, and consistency. Nicotine and the chemicals in vapor weaken collagen and elastin, two essential fibers that give skin its firmness and bounce. Once those fibers are damaged, the skin starts to sag and wrinkle prematurely. By quitting, the body stops producing the enzymes that break down collagen at an accelerated rate. Over the next several months, natural collagen production slowly increases. This process doesn't happen overnight, but as the body stabilizes, the skin begins to regain its elasticity. People often notice that their face looks fresher and more relaxed because the constant stress response caused by nicotine withdrawal is no longer present. Blood pressure stabilizes, heart rate normalizes, and the body redirects energy from stress survival back into repair and renewal. Hydration also improves after quitting. Vaping and nicotine cause dehydration by constricting blood vessels and disrupting the skin's ability to retain moisture. This makes the skin feel tight, flaky, and rough. Once the habit stops, the body's hydration balance starts to return to normal. The outer layer of the skin, which acts as a protective barrier, begins to rebuild itself. With better moisture retention, the skin feels softer and smoother, and that healthy plumpness gradually comes back. Drinking plenty of water during this time helps flush out residual toxins and supports the skin's recovery from the inside out. The transformation may seem subtle at first, but within weeks, the difference becomes visible: less dryness, fewer breakouts, and a renewed glow that no highlighter can replicate. Another major benefit of quitting is the reduction of inflammation. Constant exposure to nicotine and toxic chemicals keeps the body in a state of low-grade inflammation, which breaks down tissues and accelerates aging. Once that source of irritation is removed, inflammation begins to calm. The redness, puffiness, and sensitivity that often plague the skin start to diminish. The complexion becomes more even, and existing skin conditions like acne or rosacea often improve. The immune system, no longer busy fighting off chemical stress, shifts its focus to restoring normal cellular functions. As the body detoxifies, the skin follows suit, shedding damaged cells and regenerating healthier ones. Sleep also plays a huge role in how skin recovers after quitting. Nicotine disrupts sleep cycles, making it harder to enter deep, restorative rest. When the habit stops, sleep quality improves, and that allows the body to repair and rejuvenate more efficiently. During sleep, the skin increases blood flow and rebuilds collagen, while damaged cells are replaced. People who quit often notice that their under eye circles and puffiness gradually reduce as they start getting proper rest. The connection between quitting, better sleep, and improved skin health is one of the most underestimated aspects of recovery. Hormonal balance is another area that benefits from quitting. Nicotine interferes with hormone regulation, increasing cortisol, the body's main stress hormone, and reducing levels of key nutrients and hormones needed for skin repair. Once nicotine is out of the system, cortisol levels drop, and the body enters a calmer state. The reduced stress translates directly to the skin, which looks less inflamed and reactive. Sebum production becomes more balanced, which helps prevent both dryness and oiliness. Within a few months, the skin's texture evens out and its tone becomes more radiant. Quitting also helps protect the skin from future damage. When vaping or smoking, the skin barrier becomes weaker and more vulnerable to pollution and ultraviolet light. After quitting, that barrier begins to rebuild itself, becoming stronger and more resilient. Combined with sunscreen and a simple skincare routine, gentle cleansing, moisturizing, and protecting, the results are lasting. The body no longer has to constantly fight toxins, allowing the skin to focus on maintaining health instead of repairing damage. The improvement is often so noticeable that even others begin to comment on how refreshed or youthful someone looks. Another overlooked aspect of quitting is the psychological benefit. People often underestimate how stress, addiction, and guilt can affect their skin. The act of quitting brings a sense of control, relief, and renewed confidence. Reduced stress hormones mean fewer breakouts and a calmer complexion. The skin mirrors emotional stability. When a person feels balanced inside, it shows outside. Confidence grows as the improvements become visible. Clearer skin, brighter eyes, and a healthier overall glow. The process isn't always easy, but every step toward quitting is a step toward better skin and better health. Support from professionals, friends, or family can make a big difference, as can small lifestyle changes like exercising, eating antioxidant-rich foods, and staying hydrated. Over time, the difference becomes undeniable, smoother texture, fewer blemishes, and a natural radiance that no cosmetic product can replicate. The truth is, glowing skin starts from within. And quitting harmful habits is the most powerful act of self-care there is. Real beauty doesn't come from covering up the damage. It comes from healing it. And the moment you quit, your body begins that healing journey, one breath, one day, and one cell at a time.